Hello and welcome to another episode of the Cool Weirdos podcast. I am your host, Asha Cerise. Cool Weirdos is my brand. Weirdos stands for while everyone is replicating, demonstrate originality. This podcast is for all of the creatives, those who are innovators, those who march to the beat of their own step. And this podcast is all about self-love, healing, self-discovery, as well as trending topics. So let's get right into it. All right, so I made a promise to myself that I would put out a podcast at least once a month. And I actually recorded one last week, totally different subject. But since all of the news has come out, I decided to switch it up and I'm gonna make this be posted. It is the last day of the month, so I gotta put it out today. But the podcast I recorded last week will be out next month. So today we're talking about simps. We're talking about the word simp because I hear this word being thrown out a lot, a whole lot. And you know, this word is not new, but for some reason it's being said almost every hour. I was gonna say almost daily, but definitely daily. I see someone talking about simp behavior. They're talking about who's a simp, what's a simp. And so I just really wanted to dive into this and figure out, is being a simp actually a bad thing? Because when I was younger, it came out even before I was born. I was doing a little bit of research on the word, and I guess it came out during like the blaxploitation movies, like back in the, I don't know if it was the 70s or the 80s. There was even a character called Simp. And then, of course, it was used in rap music, like with Too Short and different people that consider themselves to be pimp. It's like the opposite of that. And I first heard someone mentioning it when it was Pimp C, which is one half of UGK. You know, out of Port Arthur, Texas. Everybody knows who UGK is. It's Bun B and Pimp C. Pimp C is always mentioning simps, you know? So I've always heard him speak of that in his lyrics, and I always took it as that being the opposite of pimp. And when we really think about that, if simp is the opposite of pimp, is pimp something that men are desiring to be, which is someone who controls and manages another woman, or a woman, or whoever manages their money, takes their money from the services that they're providing with their body. Sometimes pimps are mentally, verbally, and physically abusive. And there's other things that go along with being a pimp that are not often glorified as much as just being slick with your words and dressing nice and being fly. There are other things about being a pimp that are not so glamorous. And so if being a simp is the opposite of being a pimp, then, you know, is that really a bad thing as well? So I wanted to get into the definition of what is a simp. And I really wanted to hear it out of the mouth of one of the popular podcasters. I don't even know the dude's name. I don't watch his podcast, but he has been in the news several times, or in the social media blogs, from Fresh and Fit. And I looked him up to see I didn't look him up specifically. I looked up what is a simp. And his video came out. So I feel like it needs to be played because I don't want to define what a simp is, because a lot of times when you try to define it as a woman, when I try to define certain things that I'm going to be discussing on this episode, it's usually not received as well as it would be if a man describes it. So let's get into that first. All right, so let's take a few minutes to listen to this guy's definition of what a simp is. He's going to give us the top 3 signs that you're a simp.
What's up, guys? Myron Gaines here from Unplugged Lifestyle. Today, we're going to talk about the top 3 simp behaviors that men exhibit towards women. Let's get into it. So first, let's define what is a simp. Obviously, in the sphere, there's many definitions for this, but I'm going to give you my nice, simple definition since I got the awesome slogan, transforming simps to pimps, baby. So this is how I define it. A simp is a guy that doesn't put any type of value on his attention, resources, or money towards a woman and gives it freely without her reciprocating on her end. Example, I pay for a chick's OnlyFans subscription knowing I am never going to meet her or date her or ever see her in a romantic sense. I'm simply paying to observe her body in some weird way, knowing that I'm never going to meet her. That makes me a simp. That's a very generic way to explain it. But I'm going to talk about the top 3 simp behaviors that men exhibit in 2020. Let's get into it. Number 3, okay? And we're going to count this down from least worst to worst. Well, they're all terrible. But whatever. You guys get the point. Putting time and attention on a girl that doesn't like you. Guys, you've all been there. A girl, basically, you've been talking to her for a while. Maybe you guys went to school together. She's like your high school crush or college crush, whatever it is. And then you go in there for the kiss. And then she's like, oh, denied. And she basically tells you, like, I don't see you like that. We're just friends. Or let's not ruin this friendship. You lost, okay? Because let me tell you guys something. The girl doesn't put you in the friend zone. You put yourself in the friend zone. You understand? Because here's the thing. When you meet a chick, you need to quickly escalate and see where she stands with you. If she likes you, cool. She's going to allow you to physically escalate, okay? Remember, seduction takes 2 people. If she doesn't, she's immediately going to stop you, okay? And say something where she's going to gracefully let you down. We're just friends. I don't see like that. What she really means is, translation, I don't find you that attractive sexually, but I enjoy your free attention. Continue to be my friend and give me that boyfriend treatment while I completely abstain from giving you what you want, which is sexual attention. Number 2, spending money on a girl that you either are not romantically involved with or you're getting very, how do I say this, minuscule amounts of sex from. This is a big one. A lot of guys lead with their wallet and basically think money is the end-all be-all. But let me tell you guys something. If you have money, but you have 0 game, you're probably going to end up simping because a lot of guys lead with their wallet, and quite frankly, girls don't respect you when you leave with your wallet. You tell a chick, hey, baby, I know we just met, but I'll take you to Turks and Caicos Islands and we'll travel, or whatever it may be. She's not going to respect you. That's the equivalent to you meeting a chick at the club saying, hey, you're hot. Come with me to the bathroom. And then you smash her out in the stall or whatever, right? No condom, of course. And then next thing you know, she's trying to tell you, oh, will you be my boyfriend? More than likely, you're probably going to say, no, thank you. Because you're going to be repulsed by her giving you the sex quickly, right? That's exactly how women feel when you openly offer your money and or resources to her and she hasn't earned it. Women have to earn your money and resources. You understand? When you lead with the wallet, she might take it. She's going to absolutely take that money from you, but she ain't going to respect you. And then more importantly, she's going to leverage her sexuality against you for more money. She's basically going to suck you dry and give you the least amount of required sexual attention that you desire to continue to get money. And this is why you end up getting starfish sex, no sex, or maybe not even a kiss. I've seen guys pay girls $2,000 a week and not even like kiss her, bro. Like, what? Are you dumb? Like, insert 6ix9ine sound effect here. Stupid. Okay, anyway. And then number 1, spending a combination of time and or money/attention. This is the reality. Men want sex, women want attention. It's a battle between the 2 genders to leverage the commodity they have against the other sex in return for their commodity. For example, women leverage their sexuality to get time, attention, and resources from men, and men leverage their attention and or resources to get sex from women. Guess who's winning this battle? Women, like by far. Most guys freely give their attention, time, and resources to women that, quite frankly, don't deserve it and have not earned it. This is why, you guys want to hear a truth bomb? Most women don't respect most men. I'm going to say that again. Most women, especially attractive ones, don't respect most men. As a matter of fact, you guys are invisible to these chicks.
Okay, so he basically goes on to say that men need to make their time and attention more scarce in order to leverage and basically win the battle of who's outshining the other person or winning the back and forth battle of sex versus time, attention, and resources and all of that. Now, the 3 points that he made aren't necessarily wrong. I've never called anyone a simp for exhibiting this behavior, but I have given men advice who are trying to pursue a woman when that woman is showing little to no interest, or when her energy or her actions are not matching what it is that she's saying, etc. I've personally not labeled those people as simps. I've just spoken about, and I've spoken about this before, about the difference between courting and chasing. Or when you're pursuing someone, you shouldn't feel like you're chasing them or you're doing so much without that reciprocation. So some of the things that he said were very valid, as far as what he's saying men shouldn't do. Now, if it's someone that you're interested in, I don't see any problem with spending money and spending time when that interest is reciprocated. But you're wasting your time and resources and energy on doing that for people that don't want you in the same way. As far as being friend zoned, that's another skill that men and women have to learn. When someone is showing you that they enjoy your company but not in a romantic way, a lot of people don't understand how to just accept that and either be cool with the friendship, or if they can't see themselves being just friends, moving on. And being clear on that, like saying, I want something more with you, I don't want to just be your friend. And when that person expresses that they don't see you in that light, you have one of two choices: accept it and be their friend, or move on. So I get what he's saying, but it's interesting that many of the people that are being labeled as simps, or many of the men, because nobody's calling a woman simp, but many of the men that are being labeled simps, it doesn't have anything to do with those 3 points. So I wanted to also play a few more clips. So we will start with a clip from Steve Harvey, because again, I want to only play conversations and points made by men on this episode, because when you share things that women are saying about men issues, it's not received as well. So even though I'm a woman, I'm going to be giving my opinion on everything that I'm posting and saying today. I want the original thoughts to be from men. So we're going to start with Steve Harvey's definition of the roles of men.
I'm doing what I do. I protect, provide, and profess. 3 P's that a man show love. So if you're not providing for your woman, you're not protecting.
Let's run that back.
So if you're not providing for your woman, to really run that empire, I'm doing what I do. I protect, provide, and profess.
Okay, so before we go into the rest of that quote, he said protect. So we all seen what happened this past Sunday at the Oscars with Will Smith. Before I get into going into more of that, this is the opinion of a YouTuber. This is an opinion of a YouTuber about Will Smith and his actions on Sunday.
Where was all the strength when August Alsina was beating the doonies off of your wife, my nigga? Like blowing her back out, breaking it in the half, like Bane and Batman. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't get it, bro. Officially, Will Smith is officially the biggest simp of all time, next to Steve David.
Okay, so Steve Harvey said that the roles of a man is to protect, provide, and profess. So we're going to talk about protect right now. And we're talking about simps. So I wanted to play the YouTuber calling Will Smith a simp, and many other men have been calling him simp. So I just wanted to discuss the Will Smith, Chris Rock situation. And of course, I hate that it was between 2 black men, to see 2 black men in an altercation. It's always gonna be sad. That's not something that you enjoy seeing. Of course, I just want to say that. And I know a lot of people are talking about violence. This was so violent and all this. Let's also recognize Will Smith in general is not a violent man. So it was a physical altercation, but I wouldn't label it as violence. I mean, I guess everything that happens where there's a physical altercation is technically labeled as violence, and words that can be violent, but it just gives me a bad taste in my mouth to say violence and Will Smith in the same sentence. Like, he's not a violent man. Okay, let's just say that. So Another thing I want to say before I even get into the conversation about Will Smith and Chris Rock. The talking points that you all have been having, to me, are trash and irrelevant to the situation. But at the same time, they are relevant, which I'm going to explain in a minute. Every time we're talking about this situation, these guys are talking about, did he have the same energy for August Alsina? Where was the smoke for August Alsina? Why he ain't slap August Alsina? Y'all do know that these folks are in I don't even know if they label it an open marriage. They are in a committed marriage. They have committed and decided and dedicated themselves to stay married. Will Smith has said since his first marriage that after getting divorced from her that he felt like a failure and he refuses to get divorced again. So this is something that they have decided that they're going to stay together forever. Now, in their marriage, they have their own particular agreements and arrangements that they have agreed upon between themselves. None of us outside of their marriage have anything to do with those agreements. Within those agreements are that they discuss who they want to have other relationships with, entanglements, situationships, sexual encounters, whatever you want to call it. They discuss it, agree on it, do it, and mind their business. And everyone says, oh, why have they, if they put their business out there, then they leave it open for criticism. I was about to say critique. Criticism and ridicule and conversations and all of that. But when you really think about it, I'm 33. This is 2022. I've been hearing that Will and Jada have been swingers, is what it was labeled, since I was a child. And they never would confirm that. They've never admitted to being in any type of relationship that's outside of being in a traditional relationship until August Alsina exposed his relationship with Jada in his feelings, speaking out, which he has the right to do if that's what he felt like he wanted to do. If he didn't sign any NDAs, that's what he decided to do. It was clear to everybody anyway. We saw the pictures of Jada in August. But August Alsina brought it up. He made it public. He made a song. He did interviews. So Jada Pinkett Smith used her platform, which is Red Table Talk, which is a place where they discuss uncomfortable topics and get into the healing of it. And they're very transparent and vulnerable. She utilized that space to bring herself to the red table to address what had already been exposed. Everyone took Will Smith's facial expressions during that interview as he is a broken, hurt, sad, stressed, drained man, which could be true, but we don't know because we're not in that man's house. We're not in his life. We're not in his family. We're not his therapist. He cleared up the facial expression that became a meme and said that that's just how he looks sometimes. He just looks that way. It was early. He didn't really even want to do the interview. He wasn't sad. He says that sometimes he just looks like he's near tears. Maybe he was covering it up. Maybe he wasn't. But that's what that man said about his emotions. So everybody else who's saying that he looks like that because his wife is draining the life out of him, that's your personal opinion. So again, I have my own opinions about Jada's entanglement with August Alsina. And it's not that I'm judging her for having it, because that's her business within her marriage. I had more of an opinion about the fact that it was a young man. He was going through his own mental stuff. He needed a mentor. And then that happened. But that's not my business either, because I wasn't there. So I even saw someone say why he didn't slap Laverne Cox, who was a transgendered woman, when she made a joke about entanglements. But you also have to understand that if you look at the clips of people making entanglement jokes even in front of them, they kind of have rolled with those. They're open to that. They haven't had an issue with the entanglement jokes. Laverne Cox said it. They had their little laughter. They walked off. And then furthermore, do you know how damaging that would be if he was to slap Laverne Cox, who, yes, she was born a man, but right now she identifies as a woman. And we all know the climate of today's time. if he was to slap that woman, it would have been some shit. His whole career would be over. So, even at the Oscars, Regina Hall made a joke about she was making a list of people that needed to get their COVID test done again because they were lost, when really it was a joke because she's single, that she's looking for the single men to come backstage with her so she can test them or do something freaky or whatever. So she named a few men up there, including Tyler Perry and some other guys. And then she was like, well, Will Smith is on this list too. I know he's married, but it says Jada approved. That was a joke about open marriage or whatever. They laughed that off. Cool. That's not the same. So it's not that they can't take a joke or, you know, they're tripping necessarily about being joked on with all the business that they're putting out about themselves in the public eye. It was the specific joke and who it was by. So Will Smith and Chris Rock have their history from when Chris Rock had Jada's name in his mouth back in 2016. We've all seen the headlines, we all seen the history. From what I was in a room with Roland Martin and some other people on Fanbase the other night, the same night it happened actually, who know people in those close circles who said that comedians are saying that Will Smith has had conversations with Chris Rock about keeping his wife's name out his mouth. So I think, you know, another talking point that people are saying is that, oh, Will laughed first. Imagine, I've been saying this for days, but I just actually finished watching a YouTube video on a body language expert who read all of the body language throughout the whole ordeal. And he said most of the things that I said. He noticed most of the things that I've been noticing. And one of the things he said was, when the jokes were going on, when you're at the Oscars, right? That's another thing, as I'm trying to describe this. Everybody's talking about what they would have done in that situation, yet you've never been in that situation. This man is a multi-millionaire. He's been in Hollywood for years. He's a trained actor. He's all of these different things. And this was like one of the biggest nights of his life because he's been working hard trying to win an Oscar for years. So just imagine, if you can, being front row center, lights everywhere, cameras on, cameras directed at you because the comedian on stage is talking about your wife right here next to you. The jokes have been going on around the room already. You know the camera is on you, and it's just like autopilot to sit there and laugh like, ah, ha, ha, ha. What you look like if the comedian is up there making jokes and the camera is on you and you just like this, zoned out. He probably was zoned out because he's anticipating the part of the show for his category. He's waiting on his category. So he's just sitting there, you know, in a daze, laughing on autopilot at the jokes that Chris Rock is saying. Chris Rock, black people, we have never looked at Chris Rock as our go-to comedian. He's usually with white audience, and you know what I'm saying? So a lot of us don't even necessarily think of him as funny. But everybody's in the room on autopilot, laughing. He says the joke about G.I. Jane 2 to Jada. Will's laughing, but he was already laughing. He's just laughing because that's what everybody else is doing, and there's jokes being made. So then once it registered and he saw his wife's face, that's when it clicked. Because I know at home, I didn't get it at first, and then I'm like, oh, he's talking about her hair. And I'm pretty sure that being in the moment, all this anticipation and anxiety you have waiting for your category to come up, this comedian's on stage, all these things is going on. I personally don't think that it registered to him right away. It was just laughter on autopilot. But even if he did laugh at first, I don't think it was necessarily like, I'm laughing at my wife. It's just like, oh, I'm just doing the Hollywood thing that we do. We just laugh at shit. So that can be an argument, whatever. We'll never know if he laughed at it or if he got the joke, if it didn't register or what happened. So my thing about that whole situation is that, again, I want to bring it back to, I see a lot of men talking about, well, black women are saying that they want to be protected. What about protecting us? Which I've had a show before where I say who's going to protect us, and I talk about black men and how black women have always, since slavery time, how it's ingrained in us to be protective of y'all, and how it doesn't seem as common for black women to be protected. But I notice a lot of guys saying like, oh, y'all trying to get women, or y'all women are trying to get men locked up or killed. First of all, we already know that these people are in Hollywood, and this was the Oscars. These folks have multiple millions of dollars. It was the Oscars. There's no shootout going to happen there. But we know in real life that if there's a situation where an argument or some words have been said towards a woman and a man gets up to defend her, the woman is going to be fearful of her man getting hurt. A woman is going to want to diffuse the situation and say, oh, don't worry about it, baby, or, you know, it's okay. And that's 9 times out of 10 that's going to happen. So for men to try to create these scenarios as if women are saying, we want y'all to put yourselves in a position to be hurt and killed, unfortunately, those type of things happen in real life. And the reality of it is, most of the time, women aren't being protected because we are too afraid to allow men to protect us because we're more scared for them. So the narrative that women would just be sending our men out there to get killed and incarcerated, that's false as well. I think that the reason why many of us black women are on not necessarily team Will, but we understand, is because it's not often that you see that happening, where a black man is defending and protecting his black woman. I was listening to a live by 19 Keys where he was saying that this was more like revenge than protect. Like, to protect is to make sure you set the foundation so that a woman is not in harm's way, and to react after the fact of her getting harmed or hurt is more of revenge. So I understand that too, but I'm just saying it all kind of falls under being protected. To actually see that on television, it's like, that's what like my initial reaction was shock, and then my secondary reaction was I'm here for it, because it's not often that you see that happening on such a grand scale, or even ever. Like, we don't hardly ever, I can't think of a standout situation where I've seen a black woman being defended in that way. So it was kind of refreshing to see that happen, because it's like, damn, there are still black men that will defend our honor, basically. And I think that all these guys going around talking about Will was wrong, how, you know, he doing that was out of line and all of that. Some of y'all will slap a woman behind your wife. Cut it out. The reason why you're upset is because you don't respect Jada. The reason why you don't respect Jada is because you feel like she is a whore. Because I just watched the video that someone sent me that Corey Holcomb was calling her all kind of whores and bitches and all kind of vile woman, and just really disgusting words. You think that you feel like because she is in a non-traditional marriage that makes her this woman that doesn't deserve honor and respect. And that's your opinion. You wouldn't be in a marriage with a woman who is open or polyamorous or whatever they have going on. That's your opinion and your perspective. But Will Smith is a grown-ass man, and this is the wife he has, and regardless of what you think about her, that's still his wife. And that's what he agreed to. He's doing his thing too. They're both having entanglements. So it's not for us to say what's morally right in their marriage. The thing about it is, everyone is looking at marriage in the traditional sense, in a religious sense of it's a man, it's a woman, it's monogamous. You have to be together. You have to only be with each other. You keep your business within the marriage. Your wife is supposed to carry herself a certain way, and all of these types of traditional values that are important to y'all It's not important to them. Every marriage is different. Everybody makes their own rules within their marriage, and y'all are big mad behind their rules in their marriage. So you don't respect Jada, and that's why you don't respect Will, and that's why you don't respect his decision to go up there and pop Chris Rock in his mouth for disrespecting Jada. Now, the reason why I say that it's a direct reflection on the respect level y'all have for Jada, because if Chris Rock was to have said something disrespectful about a condition, a physical representation of a condition that Denzel Washington's wife had, y'all would be cutting up. If he was to have said something to Samuel L. Jackson's wife, y'all would be disgusted. Even if he would have said something about Will Smith's mother, because Will Smith's mother, I believe, is a bald woman, or her hair is very low. If Will Smith's mother was sitting next to him and Chris Rock made that comment to her, and he got up and slapped the shiznit out of Chris Rock, y'all would be rooting for him. But for some reason, because this is this man's wife and y'all don't like her and don't respect her, you feel like he's not supposed to. And that's what it boils down to. Now, again, I hate that it was two black men, but I've seen worse for less. I've seen, and that doesn't make it right, but I'm just saying everybody is so taken aback by this slap, and all these celebrities are making statements as if they're so traumatized. Where are your statements when black people are being killed and falsely incarcerated and murdered in the streets? Why aren't y'all putting out statements about how traumatized y'all are for seeing those things? Yes, you were there at the Oscars. Wanda Sykes and all them they were backstage watching it just like we did. Where's the outrage for the trauma that you're experiencing from all these other serious issues that's going on in the world? And I feel like, to be honest, a lot of white people that are making comments, y'all need to just kind of sit this one out. This is a black issue between two black men. Y'all really don't have no dog in the fight, and for y'all to be saying violence is not ever the answer and all of this stuff, and most of y'all ancestors are some of the most violent people in the history of mankind, be quiet. And another thing, some of y'all people that are talking about violence is wrong and all that, y'all the same people that will beat y'all kids to a pulp if they say something out of line. Anytime somebody mentions gentle parenting, oh, that's weak, that's what's wrong with kids now, they need to get their ass whooped. Y'all slapping the shit out of y'all kids and y'all family members, and you don't think nothing wrong with that. But a grown-ass man slapping another grown man is the worst thing that could have possibly happened. And a lot of y'all are saying things that it was inappropriate at the time and the place. Yet there was a video circulating a few months ago where a fight broke out in a church. A black man came and started fighting a black man in the church, and y'all was kikiing about that. It's on site was a person. That's the type of stuff you got to do sometime. If the disrespect happens, it don't matter where you at. Y'all was all for that. But now all of a sudden, violence is wrong in those type of settings. Is it because it was the Oscars and you're worried about how we look in front of white people and the people that's making comments that, oh, this is bad for the black community and it set us back? Who? Set who back? To who? What are y'all talking about? That really, y'all really getting on my nerves with that. And I hate to bring this up, but even when it comes to our black community, there are some people that you can't say nothing to them about R. Kelly without them defending him to the end of the earth. And this man has been convicted, and we've seen tapes and we've had evidence and years of confessions and exposés about how this man was violating women and children, young girls. And y'all saying, oh, it's the girl's fault. Oh, they knew what they was doing. They grown. Woo, woo, woo. He's a genius, and he is. He's a musical genius. He's talented, but you can't even say anything about him with his character without people defending him. But Will Smith, a grown-ass man who slapped another grown-ass man to defend his wife, all of a sudden, y'all have all these moral and ethical opinions. Oh, child. Y'all something else. So Plies posted the other day saying that he's not protecting no woman, that he's not the only one effing. And a man forwarded that to me, and I said, that's the problem now. And I get what he was trying to say. He's saying that he's not protecting a woman who's having sex with other men, talking about Jada having sex with August Alsina or whoever else. But again, that goes back to those are the rules of their marriage. But what's deeper about that to me is this discussion has been had before, that a lot of men won't protect any women that they're not even attracted to. They will see something going on and turn a blind eye because it's not the woman that they're lusting after or that they want to have sex with, or that they're already having sex with, and they have some type of ownership over their body. The only possible exceptions are, of course, women in their family. But when it comes to women that you're not related to and women that you're not trying to sleep with, why does it stop there? Like, if all women should be protected, if Black women are lacking protection, I should be able to feel safe in a room full of people and I see a Black man is right there and something pop off. I should be able to know that he got me, at least. But you don't always feel that way. And I'm not trying to discredit. There are some beautiful, wonderful, mature Black men that protect women, that honor women, that love women, and that understand why Will Smith did what he did. It's not that they necessarily agree with his actions, but they understand. And some of them do agree with their actions. Some of them with his actions. Some of them said they would have done the same thing. It's on site. It don't matter where it is. They would have slapped Chris Rock in the face too for telling a joke about their wife's hair. And another thing people are doing is trying to discredit the fact that Jada Pinkett has alopecia. They're saying because she still has hair follicles and she just has a very low haircut, that she can still grow hair. She's never said that she couldn't grow hair. She said that her hair, when she does grow it, was falling out in bunches. She was in the shower and her hair was just falling out by the handful. So even if she did grow her hair, if alopecia is affecting it staying there, she just went on ahead and shaved it down. And they also posted a video of her saying that she's confident in it and she doesn't care what anybody has to say about her bald head. Even though people might overcome an insecurity that they have or something that they've struggled with, doesn't mean that they can't be triggered about it or that it's not hurtful if somebody talks about it. There's plenty of things that y'all have as insecurities that you embrace. And if somebody was to clown you on it, it might trigger you. It might hurt your feelings. So let's cut that out too. And speaking of trauma and triggers, the whole thing was a display of trauma and triggers. I feel like Will and Jada have been very transparent about their healing journeys and about their journey to self-mastery. And Will Smith has expressed to us that he had experienced childhood trauma by seeing his mother being brutally abused by his father. And the things that occurred during that time, he was a young boy. He saw his mother get so badly beat up by his father, and he was standing there frozen, unable to do anything. And he carried that with him. And so he's always felt like that moment has defined his life, and he has been feeling like a coward for all his life. So especially when it comes to being able to protect the women that he loves. So when that happened and it registered to him and he saw his wife's face, in that moment, that did trigger that little boy inside of him to say, I can't let this happen again. Like, this is another moment where a woman that I love needs protection or needs defending. And I could sit here and feel like even more of a bigger coward for the rest of my life. Or I can do something this time. This time I can do something. And he chose to do that. And I think that when we talk about healing journeys, because a lot of us are on them, including me, and I talk about that all the time. When you're healing, it's not just a beautiful process. It's when you're actually doing the healing work, it's not beautiful at all. It's hard work. It's emotions, it's sadness, it's roller coasters of digging up and uncovering a lot of things that have been repressed and suppressed in your subconscious, and reliving things and reparenting yourself, and doing a lot of shadow work, addressing the dark sides of yourself and embracing some of those dark sides of yourself. It's not all love and light and peace and positivity. And when people say that, they say it in memes, and they say it in Erykah Badu quotes. Like sometimes she say she love and light, and sometimes she say she's whatever. She got her incense and this and that, and sometimes she got her Colt 45, whatever the quote is. Basically, there's two sides of me. There's other memes that go around and be like, oh, sometimes you have to, healing is choosing violence. Y'all posting it and resharing those as memes, but when you actually see it happening, all of a sudden, you're so taken aback and you're clenching your pearls. But when you're healing, especially for people who have been the picture perfect idea of what somebody should be. Will Smith has been a cookie cutter image, picture perfect person for the majority of his career. There's very little controversy that comes out about Will Smith. He's always the silly, goofy, Fresh Prince. Everybody's still looking at him as the Fresh Prince. But this man is a grown-ass man in his 50s now. And he's been on a healing journey. And what happens when you're in that healing journey is you start wanting to be more authentic. You start wanting to be able to feel your feelings and express them without always being hushed up, silenced, controlled, maintained. Sit down, compose yourself. All of those, get back into the box of what we're not comfortable seeing you this way. This is not what we're used to seeing. That becomes a lot of pressure for somebody. So what I want to bring up about the healing journey is that sometimes when your healing journey allows you to be more confident and more no nonsense. Like a lot of us have let shit slide for our whole lives. You take verbal abuse, you take insults, you take mistreatment and disrespect, and you just brush it off, let it roll off of your shoulder. You sweep it under the rug, Somebody else say something. Oh, you smile and laugh and play it off as if it didn't matter. Somebody else say something. Oh, roll it off your shoulder, sweep it under the rug again. And eventually you're going to trip over all that shit that's up under that rug. And you're going to snap and go the fuck off. And a lot of times, once you see it all the time, people that are on their journeys, all of a sudden they have the strength to expose people that have abused them in the past. They're exposing their molesters or their abusers from their childhood. They're setting boundaries. People can't just talk to them any kind of way. They're cussing people out because they're disrespected, or they're standing up and having a voice now. That throat chakra is unblocked, and now you can speak your truth, and you can say what you say and mean what you say and stand on it. You're in relationships, you're not accepting what you once did because you've gone through a process of healing and understanding where you went wrong and what you didn't do right in those previous relationships, and what you accepted that was not acceptable. And so all of these things start happening, and then people start looking at you like, what's wrong with you? Why are you tripping? Why are you saying something? Why are you saying that? Don't say that. Don't expose that person. Keep quiet. That's not nobody's business. And so that's another byproduct of healing, is letting people know that you're not to be played with. And I feel like in that moment of Will Smith doing that, y'all have to stop playing with this man in his face about his wife. He done took all the jokes, entanglement, this and that. He's been taking that. Calling his kids weird because they're different from average black children, and they're expressive and they're free and they're fluid and they're into different types of music and they dress different. Y'all call them weird because they're not a certain way, but if you see somebody else's kids that's a thug in the streets shooting folks and doing everything else, all of a sudden That's just normal black kid behavior. So he's been taking all of these things, and a combination between that, healing, childhood trauma, all of this stuff. I feel like it's not just a wounded man that reacted in that moment. It's also a healed man that reacted in that moment, because in that healed man's shoes, he has the confidence to not accept the bullshit anymore. He has the confidence to be able to step in his power and do what he feels like he needs to do without always having to mask it with a smile, a laugh, and rolling it off his shoulders. And a lot of people bring up, oh, it's just comedy, it's just jokes. He wasn't at a comedy show. And when people make jokes about different people in the audience, it's usually the ones that are nominated. If he would have made a joke about Will Smith, I'm sure Will Smith would have just laughed it off, no big deal. But he made a joke about his wife. And I repeat, why didn't he make a joke about Denzel's wife or Samuel L. Jackson's wife? It's because he respects them. He respects those men, and he respects their wives to not do that. And I also said, even though Steve Harvey mentioned that Will Smith handled that wrong and he should have did that in the green room and all that, Steve Harvey don't play about his wife. He's in love with Marjorie. And if they were front and center and Chris Rock was to have said something disrespectful about Marjorie in Steve Harvey's face, ain't no telling what that man would have did. Yeah, he's 65, he's older, he might not react, whoop, whoop, whoop. Everybody's saying different things about that. But you don't know what you would do unless you're in the situation yourself. And again, everybody makes mistakes. I feel like we should have grace for Will Smith. Will Smith has had a career that's probably older than me. And he's hardly ever done anything wrong. And the one time that he's made this mistake, all of a sudden, y'all trying to cancel Will Smith? I ain't canceling Will Smith. Will Smith will never be canceled unless he did something that was just actually the most horrendous thing. And this was not, sending love and light to Chris Rock. And it was embarrassing to be slapped on public TV, but in public national television. But, I feel like it was a learning lesson for everybody. And it was unfortunate. And again, black men, we're not expecting you to just be slapping men to protect us. But what does protecting us look like to you? Because most of us just want to feel safe. I had just said this on my one of my pages on my TikTok, maybe 2 nights before the Oscars, or maybe the night before the Oscars, that's something that I desire for my next relationship. I just want to feel safe. And that doesn't mean that you got to be all aggressive and punching folks and slapping folks. I want to be safe in every sense of the word. Feel safe to be myself, safe to be vulnerable, safe to be, to love and to be loved, and just feel that this man got me, because I'm going to make sure that they feel the same way. And a lot of times men feel like every time a woman brings this up, it's like, well, how are we supposed to feel safe? What? Most women they want to be your safe space. They want to be your peace and your protection and your love, but they want that back in return as well. They want that foundation set. You're asking us what we bring to the table, yet the table that you're saying that you already have for us to bring something to is shaky, and it's filled with animosity and resentment and bitterness and hate towards women. And again, I'm not discrediting the beautiful black men who don't act like this and don't feel this way. I'm talking about the ones that are the loudest in the room, the ones that are the loudest in the Facebook groups and on the podcast and on social media, making it seem as if being with a black woman is one of the worst things you could do, because it's not. And it seems like a lot of men have issues because of their experiences that they're holding on to and staying in that and allowing it to affect their future relationships. Y'all not doing no healing work. I see a lot of men talking stuff about all of these issues, but what are you doing to fix you? Because I see women in therapy. I see women getting coaches. I see women going to healing sister circles. I see women going to healing workshops. I see women going to seminars and taking courses. I have courses for healing, self-love, self-discovery. It's men that call my line all the time that are going through the same things that women are going through, yet they haven't enrolled in my programs. They want to vent about it, but don't want to do the work to heal it. And no shade, but I'm just saying, I see this in a lot of men. What are y'all doing to heal the wounds that you have? Because we can see that in Will Smith's case, yes, he has a lot of trauma and pain built up, but he's actually doing the work. So it's often that when you're on your healing journey, I'm gonna keep saying this, you're going to be triggered. You're going to have tests. Even myself is something that I've been working on since I was not since I was a child, but a childhood traumatic issue that I've had. For the past several years, I've been healing and doing the work for that specific issue, writing letters, crying about it, feeling the feels, going to therapy, all these things. And I thought I had pretty much healed from it. You know, me and that person have had a fine, okay relationship since then. When I was around them maybe 6 months ago, something happened between us that triggered me and brought me back to that same place. They cussed me out and I cussed their ass right the fuck back out and went off, and it was a big thing, and fell out and didn't talk again for 5 or 6 months until recently. But I needed to go through that setback on something that I thought was healed, so I can recognize that it wasn't all the way healed, that there's still more work that I need to do, and to figure out what I need to do better next time. So a lot of this stuff that we talk about when it comes to healing and getting ourselves together, it sounds great in theory. Like, we all know what the right thing is to do. We all say, oh, you know, when I get into my next relationship, this is how it's going to be, and this is how I'm going to handle this, and when I'm a parent, I'm going to handle this way. But you never know until you're in that situation. So like, people say, oh, you can talk about parenting all day long, but when you become a parent, it's different. And you're right. So when it comes to Will Smith doing his healing work and knowing that it's not necessarily right to hit somebody, he had to go through that mistake. He couldn't just, if he would have not experienced that, then the next time something like that happens, it might have happened then. So eventually he needed to be tested on this particular trigger. So now he knows that that's something that he needs to continue to work on. And I'm gonna just leave that topic at that. But when it comes to men calling Will Smith a simp for doing what he felt he needed to do to protect his wife, make it make sense, because I don't feel like that was simp behavior. Okay, so let's go back to the Steve Harvey clip where he says his roles of a man, what his opinion of the role of a man.
To really run that empire, I'm doing what I do. I protect, provide, and profess. 3 P's that a man show love. So if you're not providing...
Okay, so we talked about protecting already. Now let's talk about providing, because every day on our timelines, for those of us who are on social media, or maybe you're listening to podcasts all the time, we're hearing conversations about 50-50, who's responsible for the bills, who's taking care of the mortgage, who's doing this, who's doing that. It's literally an everyday conversation, and I see at least 3 posts a day, especially on Facebook, about this topic. And you know, the traditional sense is that the man is the provider, such as what Steve Harvey is saying. And in some sense, men, you know, people believe that men should pay the mortgage or pay the rent, and the woman pay the smaller bills, or she takes care of the other things that's needed around the home, like the toiletries and making sure everybody has new underwear, and taking care of the groceries, and saving for travel, and saving for other fun activities. Handling the things that are not necessarily necessities, like cable, paying her own bills, like the cell phone bill, her car note, her car insurance, those type of things. However, it's split. People normally will say that the man should be the sole provider, but the new age men are saying that that is wrong. It should be 50-50. A lot of, you know, some women feel the same way. It should be either 50-50 or the woman needs to be financially contributing in a major way, not just for those things that they feel like are not equally as valuable as paying the mortgage. And there was a conversation that I had in the Table Talk Thursdays is our group and podcast for my family. And there was a man who's, I'm not even going to mention details about him because I'm not trying to say who he is, but the general conversation was about him and his wife, and they're both truck drivers. So I was just asking if your wife got burnt out from that job, because that job is very strenuous. You're riding trucks, you're having to get loads, you're on the road for hours on end, these dangerous roads, you're away from home for days at a time. I said, if your wife felt burnt out from this career and she asked you if she could just take a break or retire from it. This is after he said that he is financially capable of taking care of everything. This was his response. He said, I will never pay all the bills in the house if I'm living with someone. It doesn't make sense to do that to me. I don't know why some of you think like that, but that's so 50s, 60s. I think that a real woman would know what it takes. I look at it like this. If she was living alone, she would pay all of the bills. Now that she's in a relationship, she really doesn't think that she needs to pay. Good luck with the simp. So the simp word is being brought up again, and I see this word brought up often when it comes to being a provider for a woman financially. And a lot of men will try to paint this narrative as if, I'm talking about black men, a black man can't be loved unless they're paying, unless they have money. But I know every black woman that I know, including myself, have been madly in love with a broke man, madly in love with a man that was not contributing. And it's not true. There are some women that still do that. There are some women that don't mind being the sole provider, don't mind their man not contributing anything. So is it the money or is it you? All the time when men are talking about this, they don't want to talk about what else that they're offering. Like they love to ask us what we're offering. What else are you offering besides your low income that you're saying that it's not fair that you have to be the only one being financially responsible for bills? And then if you feel that you can't be loved unless you have money, don't even worry about the love. Don't you want money? Don't you want to better your situation? If you're unhappy with the amount of money and financial stability that you have, do you not aspire to do something more to try to fix that situation? And I'm not saying that it's that easy, because it's not always that easy. But if you're doing basic work and you're making a basic living, but you have the capability of doing more, of going and getting a trade or learning how to do work for a tech company by taking a couple of online classes or doing something on the side, or whatever the case may be, if you're capable of making more, but you're choosing not to, but you're complaining that you're not being loved because of your situation financially, never mind who's loving you. A lot of men don't even feel the love for themselves when they're not financially stable. I've seen it firsthand. I see it all the time from personal experience and from hearing men and women's experience with this. When a man doesn't have their money together, they don't feel good about that. If another man was to joke on a man, they could probably talk about their shoes, the way they look. They can talk about them all day long. But when they start talking about you broke, and they start stunning on them financially, that's where it hurts. So it's not necessarily an issue when it comes to what women want from you. It's what you should want for yourself, right? A lot of women are making more money than men because they're doing something about it. And so that's the talking point that they have, is that, oh, you can't survive off of one income in America. Or women are making more than men, so they should be paying more. Are the women making more because they're going into the same types of positions, making more money? No, because women are paid less, especially black women. They're making more because they're elevating themselves in their career, in their field, or finding ways, starting businesses, doing other things to make that money. The men that are complaining about their finances, where is your effort? Are you actually putting in the effort to do something about your financial situation is my question. And it's just a false narrative that you're not being loved because of that. It's other things that are going on. And I hear a lot of men repeating Kevin Samuels' rhetoric a lot. And one man in particular that I always get into it on Facebook, he knows who he is. I don't have anything against him personally, but we argue a lot about different topics. And he's always saying, marriage, what's wrong with the black community is that people aren't getting married. They aren't getting married. The marriage rates aren't low because people don't desire to be married. A lot of people desire to be married, yet they have standards now. And Kevin Samuels has everyone thinking that black women are not valuable enough or don't have enough worth to have certain standards. And some people's standards may be outlandish to whoever based on their opinions. If a woman is this or that, she has kids, or she's not making this amount of money, or she doesn't look this certain way, then she shouldn't want this type of man. That's personal perspective and opinion. But just the fact of saying that marriage is the only answer. But then when I asked him, well, what are you doing as a married man to make these men who are out here that are the options for the women that are single desirable to be married? What are you doing as a married grown man that apparently has a successful marriage to mentor the young men and mentor men of your age, your peers, and give them advice and put them on so they can be financially wealthy like you are, or put them on how they should be able to carry themselves or heal themselves or treat themselves and treat their women so that women will want to marry them. And he always just says, me speaking the truth is me helping my people. No, it's not. Because if you ask me that same question, like I said, I have journals, I have healing workshops, I have programs for youth and adults. I have, I became a life coach because people always come to me for certain advice. I do one-on-one coaching. I'm doing things that are contributing to people healing and learning to love themselves and learning to also be accountable. So when we're throwing out this word of being accountable when it comes to women, yet it seems like men are losing accountability for their actions and their behaviors and the way that they are presenting themselves and the things that are coming out of your mouths. You're spewing a lot of bitterness and resentment and hate towards women, but you want those same women to desire you and want to be with you. It doesn't make sense. So when it comes to providing, it's not just about finances either. It also goes back to that safe space. Providing that safe space for a woman to feel like they can trust you. They can be themselves. They can be vulnerable. They can fall back and have a damn break sometimes. They can breathe. They can have a partner when it comes to everything, because these men are talking about the 50-50 when it comes to finances, but aren't doing 50-50 in other areas. There's women that are in relationships that have children that are also working just like the man, but on top of working, they're coming home and they're cooking. They're coming home and they're taking care of their children. They're bathing them. They're entertaining their kids. They're helping them with homework. They're cleaning the house. Some of them are taking trash out. Some of them are raking leaves and mowing lawn and shoveling snow and scraping snow off of the windshields and doing all of these things and contributing to half of the bills. So it's not even 50-50. It's really 98-2. So providing for a woman is providing that safe space for us to be able to breathe. Waiting to exhale is a real thing. We're always holding our breath in survival mode when it comes. Our finances might be straight, but there's turmoil in the house. There's mental instability. There's anger. There's lack of effort, complacency. All of these different things that's going on where you're just waiting on that moment to be able to breathe. So we also need someone to provide us with that. you're talking about how women are so masculine and we want you to be softer and feminine and all of these things. And don't you think we want to be too? I know I'm naturally a feminine woman. I'm very, I have to speak louder and project my voice on these shows and these things that I talk about. But for the most part, I love being feminine and soft and gentle and loving and nurturing. But if you don't have the space to be able to just be safe in order to do that, sometimes you have to, stand in your strength and your power, and you're in your masculine energy unwillingly. You don't want to be in your masculine energy, but you have no choice, like the independent woman. Most of the time it's men trying to say they want independent women at this point. It used to be a woman thing that, oh, I'm independent. Now you don't have a choice but to be, because who can you depend on but yourself? So, we need to get back into the interdependency of working together and not being each other's enemies and providing each other with safe space. And if you want to lead as a man, if you say that that's your role to lead in all aspects. Don't just lead and think that leading means controlling. A lot of these men are throwing out that word control. If I can't control my woman, if I can't have full control, why do you want to control a whole nother grown ass person, or anybody at that? Lead by example of you want us to be your peace, but sometimes men have to be the one that's the level-headed, peaceful one in moments. If a woman is emotional and we're, whatever we're going through, when you lead with the peace and the calm and the laid backness and the stability, then the woman can follow that. When you're leading with, I got you, you good, you're safe, then all of the rest is going to fall into place. But you want us to lead in all of those areas, but you want to lead and control every other aspect of our lives, our bodies, our minds, where we go, who we talk to, what we do, what we say, who we look like. All of those things are off balance. All right, we can talk about providing all day. We know that subject is kind of played out because it's talked about so much. So let's go back to our Steve Harvey quote.
Run that empire. I'm doing what I do. I protect, provide, and profess. The 3 P's that a man show love. So if you're not providing for your woman, you're not protecting her, and you're not professing your love for her, what you doing? And until we start teaching this to the younger generation, they actually think that a girl supposed to pay for something.
So protect, provide, profess. We talked about protecting. We talked about how when Will Smith did what he felt like he needed to do to protect his wife, he was labeled a simp. We talked about providing, and when men feel like they are the sole providers, some of these guys look at that as simp behavior. And now we're talking about professing. So I want to give an example of a man professing his love and adoration for his wife, and we'll talk about the rest later.
Compared.
Yeah, I have one that's bigger than that.
Was it LSIN?
Yes, Now, enough of the sentimental stuff.
So in that clip, Russell Wilson and Sierra were doing the questions game for, I think it was GQ magazine. And the question was, what is your biggest fear? And so she named something, and he was like, well, I have one that's bigger than that. And she said, is it losing? She spelled it out, and he said, losing you, yes, that's my biggest fear. So this was not everyone, some of y'all dudes, Godfather response, Kevin Samuels.
Respect Russell Wilson, not because he married a woman with a child, it's because he's a simp.
Why is he a simp?
Because that's an entire program. And here's the thing, how about this? Because the men say he is.
Well, okay, as a female, then I want to simp. Because if there's a man...
Well, then go ahead. Then so you want to have a... So, again, thank you guys. Listen to what she said. She wants to simp. She wants to simp. She wants to simp. Because a man like Russell Wilson, who puts Sierra on a pedestal, pedestalizing a woman is... I said this 3 weeks ago. Show me a culture or a race of competitive people where the women were pedestalized above the men. Show me a competitive civilization. You don't. Men's purpose needs to be pedestalized, not the female. That means that see, this is a problem. So many women.
Okay, so again, Russell Wilson said that his biggest fear was losing his wife. His wife, who is also the mother of his children. And Kevin Samuel said that he's a simp for putting his woman on a pedestal, and that men should be the only ones that are pedestalized, and no other nation pedestalize. I don't even know if I'm saying that word. That don't even sound right. Put women on a pedestal. So going back to Steve Harvey's 3 P's: protect, provide, profess. This man was professing his love. Who doesn't have a fear of losing someone that they love, especially the closest person to them, which would be their spouse and the co-parent of their children? But y'all call that simp behavior. And again, it goes back to respect, because y'all been not respecting Russell Wilson ever since him and Sierra became public with their relationship. When Sierra and Russell Wilson first started being public and he was being shown as a good stepfather to baby Future, everybody dragged that man for being good to a little boy, for being loving to a little boy that is his future wife's child, because they weren't married at the time when they first started taking pictures together and stuff. It's interesting that everyone started labeling Russell Wilson as a simp and a cornball and all of these things when he was being a good role model, father figure, stepfather to baby Future. Yet when Diddy has raised Quincy and claims him as his son, and this man got Al B. Sure's whole face, it's clear that P. Diddy is not this boy's father. Yet nobody criticizes him for taking that man's son and being his father. And there's nothing to criticize, because everybody's situation is different. When somebody new comes along, you know, if you are there for that woman, you're going to be there for those children. And if you're there for a man that has children, you're going to be there for them as well. But for some reason, because Russell Wilson was with Future's baby mama, the rapper Future, then all of a sudden these guys that love toxicity, except when it's from a woman, they love male toxicity. They immediately started hating on Russell Wilson. So anything that he does for his wife or anything else, it gets dragged as something negative. How dare somebody say that this man saying that he fears losing his wife as something a simp would do? That's ridiculous. If Steve Harvey's definition of a man is protect, provide, and profess, yet when black men actually display moments of protecting, providing, and professing for their women, y'all call them simps. If you don't want to do those things and you're steadily asking women what they're bringing to the table, what do you have at the table that we're coming to? You're not offering protection, you're not offering provision, you're not offering professing love. What is there? Dingling? And Kevin Samuels always talk about happiness is not important. Self-love is not important. Oh, you can get these 3 minutes in the bedroom. Y'all just want us to just be there doing all the things that women are supposed to do, being feminine, being soft, being cooperative, being fit, being fine. All of these things, taking care of the children, doing everything you need us to do, and we just get what? And again, I'm not discrediting the good men that are out there, because I know they exist. I don't feel no type of bitterness towards men, because I know that there are good men that exist. The men that I might argue a little bit with every now and then on Facebook, the men that I'm talking about on this podcast and that I see up and down my timeline, y'all don't have none of my energy in real life. In real life, I wouldn't give you the time of day. In real life, my energy is going towards men that are loving. I follow men that love black women, that honor us, that know that we honor them as well, know that it's not a competition, that, oh, I'm not going to honor or love or respect you because I don't feel honor, love, and respect, because you already know that it's being reciprocated. I'm not discrediting you at all, black men. I see y'all. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I honor y'all. I admire y'all. And I want one of y'all. You know, like the man that I'm going to be with, is going to be nothing like the men that I'm talking about right now. So I don't want y'all to think that I have an overall disdain for men, because I definitely don't. I'm not a man hater. I'm not a feminist. I don't fall under any of those categories. I'm just for rights, in my opinion, on what I feel is right. And I feel like black women do get disrespected a lot. As much as y'all try to say that that's not a thing, it really is. Whenever you see black women being protected or respected, all of a sudden it gets turned into a negative thing. The black men who are protecting and respecting black women are labeled as simps now. So, ladies, do we want simps? Because the man that the dude from Fresh and Fit was talking about was a simp. I understand that as being simp behavior. I understand that as being something that you need to correct if you're chasing women that don't like you, don't want you, aren't interested in you, are friend zoning you, and you're not picking up the clues. I get that. But these other characteristics that are being labeled as simp behavior is not simp behavior. You're misusing the word. First of all, the dudes back in the day, they used to be calling folks simps. They were actually looked at as cool. They were actually looked at as somebody that has some type of swag and stuff. All these dudes is calling folks simps. A lot of y'all are lame. A lot of y'all are corny. A lot of y'all are whack and undesirable, and yet you're labeling somebody else as a simp. Maybe y'all are calling the people that are doing the thing simps because you have some type of insecurity about what you don't have that they do have. Because a lot of these guys that are being labeled simps, that are being sole providers, that are being protectors and being professing their love, they fine as hell, and they got fine ass wives, and they're successful, and they're doing well in life. Meanwhile, the ones that's calling folks simps, I see y'all pictures. Maybe that's why. I see y'all. I see the mindset that you have. I see the things that you post about. I see the lack of conversation that you actually can have in real life. So those are the things that you should be putting your concern into, not other men, what other men are doing that you deem as simp behavior. Get yourself together. Find your own peace. Do some healing work. Spend your energy, instead of looking up what type of whore Jada Pinkett is, Jada Pinkett Smith, what type of whore behavior she's into, according to y'all. Go look up a therapist and go make you an appointment to do that, because your energy is misplaced. Jada Pinkett Smith, regardless of what y'all think about her, that's Will Smith's wife. So it doesn't matter what she does. If he's accepting it, that's his business. And I see a lot of people talking about Jada Pinkett Smith is a narcissist and naming off the reasons of why she is. She could be a narcissist. And that's also their responsibility to work on what they're going to do about it in their marriage. But it's interesting that so many men are talking about narcissism now. Yet when women are talking about narcissism all the time, it's everybody can't be a narcissist. Y'all love that word. That's a new word. That ain't narcissistic. That's just this. Like, you're excusing the narcissistic behavior when it's coming from men. But now that it's coming from women, oh, she's a toxic woman. She's the downfall of him. She's this, she's that. It must be something that y'all don't know about that woman that makes him love her like he does. And it could be narcissism, and he could be an empath and all of that. But that's something that they have to work through. And it still doesn't take away his love and the way he honors and respects his wife. So you can't judge his actions on your opinion about this man's wife. I think that, we talk about toxicity a lot, and nobody puts the energy and effort into looking up those traits that they can see within themselves until they can point it at a black woman. Oh, it's her fault, it's her fault, it's her fault. And judging Will Smith and trying to counsel Will Smith when he has been, I don't even know how to describe how damn near perfect this man has been. The most controversial topic that we've had surrounding Will Smith personally is whatever happened between him and the woman who played the original Aunt Viv, which he cleared up. So this man has had 30 plus years of a successful career with no incidents. His own mother, who knows him more and longer than anyone else in this world, said that she's never seen him be like this. How much do you want somebody to take? It's been decades of ridicule, conversations being had about his family, his children, all of this. He had a breaking point. He had a boundary that he set, and that's what it was. And again, I'm not judging him for whatever decision he felt like he had to make. I'm not saying that slapping people is right, but I'm just saying everybody got a breaking point, and you have to be careful, and you can't dictate how somebody reacts to what you put out. And it's not like, oh, they say, oh, he's at a comedy. It's comedy. He can't go to a comedy show then. It wasn't a comedy show. And it wasn't a joke about a random thing. And they also said something about Dave Chappelle makes jokes about transgender. Is a transgender supposed to come on stage and punch him now or slap him? When he makes jokes about transgender people, it's usually just a general joke about transgenders as a whole or somebody that he knows specifically. He's not going in the audience of someone and pointing directly to them and talking about them being a transgender. So it's a little different. And then we're not talking about gender assignment and whatever. We're talking about something that she's suffering with privately, that her husband sees her going through in the privacy of their own home. Something that she's had to overcome an insecurity about, a physical appearance from a man who made a documentary. I believe after I watched Good Hair documentary back in 2009, I haven't had a perm since. So his documentary impacted my life. I went natural after watching Chris Rock's documentary. So he knows about Black women's hair and what it means to us and what the importance of it is and how we value it and how our crowns mean something to us and how the Crown Act just recently got passed that we don't even have to be discriminated against for our natural hair. So these are issues that he's aware of. So even if he didn't know that she had alopecia, don't talk about her hair. Don't have a room full of folks laughing at her about her choices with her hair. It was a bad joke and it didn't necessarily warrant a slap, but that's what happened. And again, some of y'all will slap people for less. Some of y'all have done worse for less. So stop judging this man like he did the worst thing ever. And y'all still would probably do something worse than that. And it's just not televised. So to wrap it up, because I know I'm rambling because this has just been a week of Will, Jada, and Chris Rock. And I'm pretty much leaving this in March. Hopefully we can just leave the conversations here. Of course, I want y'all to interact with this podcast and tell me what you think about what I'm saying. But I hope that me pointing out some of the things that are going on in our community have some type of impact on you to really take a look at what this looks like. It seems to me that whenever Black women are protected and respected publicly, that the men who are doing so are labeled as simps, or there's some type of negative connotation associated with that. Think about that. And what is the role of a man? Answer that to me. Please answer that to me, for me. If you're on my social media sites, please follow me on every site at Asha Cerise. If you want to follow the Instagram of the podcast, it's at Cool Weirdos IG. Spotify, make sure you review my podcast. Give me 5 stars now, even if you don't agree with what I be saying. I'm putting in my effort doing my podcast. And I think you can also make comments on Spotify. If not, I usually do a Q&A and a poll on Spotify as well. So answer the questions that I post on there and give me feedback. This is going to be on YouTube as well, on my channel, Asha Cerise on there as well. If you're watching this, give me some feedback on what you think. And let me know, are you down for protecting, providing, professing, or is that simp behavior in ladies? Do we now want simps? Because I know I'm wrapping up, but I want to reiterate. A simp, if that's what a simp is, protecting, providing, and professing, That's what we want. Now, what y'all saying that women want y'all to bow down to us and let us control y'all and all of that, most women are not looking for that. So if that's what you think we want, because y'all see Russell Wilson is a nice man to his wife, Will Smith is a nice man to his wife, y'all think we're looking at that as a docile, weak, sensitive man. No, there's balance. There's masculine and everybody has masculine and feminine. But we're not looking for feminine men per se, but we're looking for a man to be soft in the sense of loving and safe. And that doesn't take really softness. It takes strength to be a safe space for a woman. So we're not looking for weak men. We're looking for masculine men who know how to have that balance of showing adoration, being loving, being caring, being providers and protectors, making sure that their woman knows that they're loved, they're safe, they're protected, they're respected, they're honored, and anyone that goes against that will be checked. So that's all we want. And I appreciate y'all letting me rant and get this conversation off, because again, it's definitely been the topic of the week. I want y'all to follow me again on those platforms. Asha Cerise, OSHACERESE, Cool Weirdos Podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and other streaming platforms. And I will talk to y'all later.